Well, thank you, Dr. Caldwell, for the presentation. We were really excited again to have you here today. So, Dr. Caldwell will be able to answer questions later on this morning, specifically in our facilitated discussion. And also, he'll probably be available during the break. We'll have a break after my presentation to answer any questions. And I am planning to use the microphone because I have a tendency to drop my voice and nobody can hear me on a good day. So, a little bit of background into our work here at Lambton Public Health. Our strategic plan for 2014 to 2019 was developed, I think, at the end of 2013. This plan includes 6 strategic domains. So we have internal priorities and external priorities. And today we're focusing in on one of our external priorities, which is healthy environments, but there's a connection with the other domains in the plan with healthy aging and healthy child development. Each domain in the plan was assigned an implementation team. So we're here today as a Healthy Environment Strategic Plan Implementation Team. A long title, but we're otherwise known as HESPIT, funny acronym. It's a multidisciplinary team at Lambton Public Health that involved partnership with the county's planning and development services. So we've been fortunate enough to have this county planner sit with us on our team since its inception, and we've really benefited from the input that we've received there. So in the plan, the Healthy Environments domain has a strategic priority statement, which is to collaborate with relevant sectors to ensure a healthy built environment by working towards these 2 components. So establishing public health perspectives and representation in the planning processes of municipalities, community groups, developers, school boards, and other sectors. And there's a second component, which we won't really speak to as much today, but responding to the concerns about health impacts of the built environment. And so when we look at this priority statement, I really just want to highlight the term built environment. The healthy environments domain might seem very large when you think healthy environments. What does that really mean? But really our focus is on the built environment. And again, I'm here today, or we're here today, to talk to you about the first part of our priority statement, which is establishing public health perspectives into municipal planning processes and other stakeholders. So the team, the Healthy Environments team, came up with an action plan with 3 broad goals, which were to increase the awareness of built environment health impacts, design options for policy input opportunities with stakeholders, and have strong and effective partnerships moving forward. Again, those are 3 broad goals as part of our action plan. And so we'll get right into what the built environment means or what we've been working towards. So the built environment, the broad definition from the Public Health Agency of Canada, is that as part of our physical surroundings, it includes the buildings, parks, schools, road systems, and other infrastructure that we encounter in our daily lives. And we can pull this definition apart and just highlight that really is the interactions with our physical surroundings on a daily basis that impact our health. So we just want to highlight that aspect of the definition. And here's a short video. It's going to explain a few things probably better than I can.
Lambton Public Health has prioritized work on healthy environments, specifically built environment, as part of its strategic plan from 2014 to 2019. The built environment is part of our physical surrounding and includes the buildings, parks, schools, road systems, and other infrastructure that we encounter in our daily lives. It is important to note how much our daily interactions with the built environment impact our health. The built environment impacts our physical health, our mental health, our safety, our sense of community belongings, and the economic health of our communities. You may ask, why is this important to our community? Currently, our daily interactions with the built environment can affect our health in a negative way. Right now in Lambton County, 65% of adults are classified as overweight or obese. We are currently an aging community. 31% of our population will be age 65 and over by 2035. We all share a responsibility to shape healthier built environments that are accessible and safe for all ages. Action on the built environment can be directed into the following categories: transportation networks, food systems, neighborhood design, natural environments, and housing. Lambton Public Health's Healthy Community Checklist can help you get started. Lambton Public Health wants to work with municipalities, community groups, developers, school boards, and other stakeholders. We want to support and advise built environment initiatives, evaluate land use planning policies, help to apply health impact assessments, support funding initiatives for built environment improvements, and help municipalities with built environment priorities. Together we can shape a healthier community, one where our daily interactions with the built environment impact our health in a positive way.
So the video mentioned that we'd be working towards these 5 broad themes: so healthy neighborhood design, transportation networks, natural environments, food systems, and housing. And so early in the process, we looked to our stakeholders to gather some input. So in 2016, we did a survey of local built environment stakeholders. So some of you may be familiar or may remember us surveying stakeholders across the county. At the time, we found 24% were not familiar with the term built environment. But we did find the positive aspect of that was that 93% believed that public health has a role in influencing the built environment. And our stakeholders identified that healthy neighborhood design was the most important built environment aspect that would impact health in Lambton County. So after the survey was complete, we did a focus meeting with stakeholders to inform the development of Lambton Public Health's next steps and also the development of a key message document. And some of you were part of that focus meeting that we had with our stakeholders. So what we came up with from that meeting or from those ideas was the built environment healthy community checklist. So really this checklist is in front of you. I'm surprised they're all sitting perfectly at each table. You can take them down, take a look at them. I flipped them from a big post that you have in front of you. But it's an interactive self-assessment tool, and it's organized into the 5 themes of the built environment and a section on where to start. This is just an image, you can see it in front of you as well. So we reached out to municipalities with this healthy community checklist. Municipalities were identified obviously early on in the process as key partners. So by the end of 2017, Lambton Public Health presented the Healthy Community Checklist to all 11 municipalities. I don't know if anyone is in the room here that would remember us coming. Remember the presentation we provided to each municipality? Yep. So as a delegation to each council, we presented the process to get to this point, our findings, and we attained one of our action plan goals, which was to increase awareness of built environment health impacts. So as part of this process, our delegation to each council, we designed a presentation to have a municipal call to action. And what we've asked municipalities to do was to designate municipal staff to work towards these three points. To complete the Healthy Community Checklist in a supporting document. So it wasn't just a checklist that you received. You received a supporting document that asks how you've been working towards those items you checked off. And we opened up ourselves up for any consultation as needed while you were working through the checklist, and then to report back to council and Lambton Public Health on the state of the built environment in your community. So overall, the presentation format and content was uniform across all municipalities, but we did cater the presentation to each municipality with certain examples under each theme. So you see the top picture there, that's our presentation to non-euthymia, and under healthy neighborhood design, we we presented some examples under their community recreation center. And Donnie Beaman was our first presentation of this round. And what we received back from Donnie Beaman actually was a 30-page report with reports attached as an appendix. So it really started the ball rolling, and we were really excited to get some responses from municipalities. In the city of Sarnia, we talked briefly about some of their healthy housing options, and here in Wyoming, we mentioned the Wyoming to Reese's Corners Trail as part of the Healthy Transportation Network theme, and I'm really excited about this trail because I live in this community and I use this trail all the time. So we found, obviously, I think everyone knows this, that municipalities have personalities, and it was an honor and a privilege really to work with each municipality to present the checklist and get feedback from each municipality. It was exciting. There was mutual understanding of the interaction between the built environment and health. So I think there was definitely some head nodding at each presentation, understanding the concepts that we were presenting. And there was mutual understanding of why this is a priority for public health. So throughout 2018, we received responses and reports on a healthy community checklist from 8 of 11 municipalities in the county. And you'll notice that I've put either kind of a positive or negative symbol beside some of our findings. And it's just to highlight, again, some of the positive aspects and then things that we can work on. So under the section on where to start, I think if everyone has an opportunity to open up the checklist, there is a section there with certain questions. And so we tried to summarize our findings under each theme from all of those questions. So what we found from municipalities is that local service clubs were identified as key partners in both environment plans and improvements. That official plans, master plans, and other plans were drafted in development, but often without direct involvement of Lambton Public Health. And it was a response that was consistent across all municipalities. And we also found that any health impact assessments, they were either not considered or required locally. So overall, we were not considered as a potential supporting agency for any grant funding applications related to community improvement projects. But with that note from each municipality, we found that all intend to think of this as a partnership in the future. And that priorities for improving community health in the built environment varied across municipalities. So there wasn't one certain priority or one certain theme that stuck out from each municipality. It varied. And I think that speaks to something that Dr. Caldwell said, that what's required in each municipality is very different and it needs to be catered locally. So moving into our first theme, so neighborhood design. That's our stretch wear, so if anyone wants to stretch, it's part of our program here. Healthy neighborhood design, again, was identified by stakeholders as having largest impact on health. Official plans, I'm going to highlight official plans under each theme because they were identified as the main administrative avenue for all of the themes. Municipalities do use zoning bylaws and rezoning applications, and they use these as having an impact on mixed land use potential. However, being a rural, overall rural municipality or rural municipal settings, that there's often limited development opportunities that restrict land use mixes. We found most municipalities do have master plans in place or in development, especially for recreation and parks. Most urban areas in the county have amenities that neighboring rural residents can access. So if a municipality is missing a certain service or amenity, it's often not far that they can find that service. There was limited reporting on which facilities were key or integral to municipalities, so we couldn't often pull out certain amenities that were a priority, like rec centers, libraries, trails, etc. But municipalities did determine that it's important to have phased approaches to expand trail networks, amenities, etc., and we found this through their master plans. A lot of municipalities have some form or some aspect of built or business improvement plans or business improvement areas, and social amenities such as benches, park facilities, and other street furniture were identified as key components to this. In Petrolia especially, there's a connection to rural healthcare options, which was identified as a focus for that municipality, and it has positive implications for all the surrounding communities. Some municipalities identified that community spaces were offered for free or for reduced rates to encourage participation. And that when we look at the 3 C's of healthy communities, complete, compact, and connected, these were identified in most official plans from municipalities. I think this is the final slide for neighborhood design. And a component of neighborhood design is safety and vandalism concerns. They were often discussed either with the OPP or police services, which would be the city department, to help reduce or eliminate any future occurrences. And this is basically safety and crime prevention by design. So it's a very proactive approach. In terms of safety as well, pedestrian crosswalks and safety were identified as priorities, and they're being installed throughout municipalities. It was identified in a number of responses. Some municipalities go as far to inspect their park and facilities monthly to address any safety concerns, and then further to that, there are public reporting options for some municipalities that are made available through an app or online to make it easy for the public to report any concerns. Our next theme was transportation networks. The first comment that we received from every municipality is that a variety of transportation modes is difficult to support in rural settings, and we understand that completely. That we were very car dependent, especially throughout Lambton County. But again, official plans highlighted here were identified as the main administrative avenue for identifying transportation networks and other options. Some municipalities are working towards assessing sidewalks annually for AOP compliance, and then they're classified for any repair. Again, identifying priorities. The key to supporting active transportation and connection is to have central commercial areas identified, and this was a component of all official plans. But that some municipalities have identified growth, which are away from central or commercial areas, which could be, the positive is that there's growth, but the negative is that it's not being planned with health in mind. Some municipalities are incorporating standards such as the integrated accessibility standards, and designing these into all public spaces for infrastructure and construction programs. And then we found municipalities need to identify key links or priorities that need to be made to connect neighborhoods, amenities, hamlets, and parks, and often this was found in their master plans. Our next theme is natural environments. A lot of municipalities are partnering with the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority for park improvement projects or even legacy projects, and it's common amongst all municipalities. There are subsidized tree planting programs between the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority and residents, and that's done in partnership with the municipality. And again, here's official plans being highlighted because that was mentioned a number of times in the responses. And one negative comment that we've heard is that public policy to protect landscapes or maintain natural areas has often developed without adequate funding for municipalities, residences, and landowners. But also, site plan agreements for any new development often require landscape and amenity plans, which is key. Other municipalities identify road construction projects that now include a tree plan, whereas any removals of trees are now replanted as part of that plan. And a negative comment on that utilities along roadways make it difficult to incorporate trees and other natural features. Again, here's partnership with local service groups. They're often planting trees in public areas, including memorial plantings and cemeteries, and you might think, well, boy, cemeteries, it's kind of far off, but these are contributing to natural areas throughout the county that we need to take note of in inventory. Our next theme is food systems. Again, here's official plans. They're identified as the main administrative avenue for these options. Community gardens in urban areas are common across all municipalities now, and farmer market options are now being considered in many municipalities. municipalities. Food banks across the county are considering or are already partnering with the bulk water market operated by the Inn in Sarnia, so this is an option that's occurring in many municipalities. An interesting note is that waste management overall, so there's different components to the food system, and waste management is one of them. And many municipalities responded with a concern about waste management, but not specific just to food. And it was identified as its overall management is important and identified by most municipalities, I think because it's a large cost for municipalities. And another interesting note is that most municipalities were not aware of the Sarnia Lambton Food Charter, which was endorsed by County Council. And all municipalities had received information on this food charter in the past. And I think this is our final theme. In the checklist, in that healthy housing official plans, again, were identified as the main administrative admin. You'll see that this repeated through all the themes. For identifying housing options, affordable housing programs, and other strategies. Municipalities use the property standard bylaw or bylaws where these are key tools for municipalities to influence housing standards and quality. And further, the building permit process where they identify any natural hazards for new development. And further to housing, that resident tenant turnover was not identified as a significant issue by most municipalities, and resident tenant relocation was also not identified as a significant issue. And I think that's specific to each municipality or their small towns. Often there isn't a lot of relocation or tenant resident relocation, but overall in Lambton County, relocation is occurring outside of this county as our population is shrinking. So it's really interesting to note that the issue wasn't clearly identified, I think, in the checklist. In Sarnia, a housing subcommittee was formed as part of a healthy age strategy, and I think we'll hear a little bit about that after our break as well. And then overall, there was limited discussion on where affordable housing was located and its proximity to or distance from other amenities and services and its implications with transportation. So again, findings overall, we want to focus and keep building on the positive findings and aspects of the checklist, analyze some of the negative aspects and determine what solutions may exist. And then the question we want to ask ourselves if there's any solutions or priorities identified that have the potential to solve or mitigate a number of built environment concerns across the themes. So if there's one certain priority that can help mitigate any problems across the theme, I think we want to focus on that in the future. So I'm going to open it up to questions before we have a quick break. I think we're a little bit behind schedule, but we'll take a little bit of time out of our discussion afterwards. Does anyone have any questions either for myself or Dr. Caldwell on our findings?
I have a question maybe more for municipalities. Just wondering how, when some of these resources are made available to municipalities, and we know that there's sometimes staff turnover and competing priorities, what is the most effective way for us to kind of get this information on your radar so public health can work to support your work moving forward? So just the example I think was the food charter, right, as an example. There was outreach, but how do we keep these things on your radar? What's the best way to engage?
I think if anyone wants to try and answer that question, that's representing the municipality they give, but we might have an opportunity to discuss that in our discussion after the break. Yeah.
I'd say for me it'd be like just maybe a monthly newsletter of stuff that's going on in public health that might pertain to planning, and even stuff that isn't that might be of interest, just to kind of. And maybe planning should do it as well and keep that, different, like just opening a communication channel that's established one email that encompasses everybody. And even a point form email, like newsletter, nothing fancy because we're all busy. Yeah. But information, but it fits the information.
Yeah, we'll take that idea back. Any other questions? So I'm just going to make note of where the washrooms are located. I see a few people